WBISLP 1069, Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
Motivations with Glenn.
Good day, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Jacqueline Cullins Williams. This is Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBISLP. We have a very educational and informative topic of discussion today. That is on summer safety, hot car, forgotten baby syndrome. Please don't forget to leave your baby in the car. And please don't ever leave a child in a car that's hot or an elderly person. Those are the discussions that we'll have today. If we have anybody that'd like to call, offer their comment, or have a question, please do so by calling 252-756-2008. And as always, please don't forget you can avail yourselves to Awesome Radio by going to the various apps, Google Play, the App Store, Amazon Alexa, Roku TV, and of course with Facebook Live. And after the broadcast, the videos will be available on Facebook and YouTube under the Awesome Radio Station channel for your information. Because some of these videos you might want to go back, have a look at with your young child and sitting next to you so you can point certain things out to them. So my co-host is going to open up the topic of discussion today, Ms. Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Hey, Dr. Glenn. This is Jacqueline Cullins Williams, and we are glad to be here today. I always have to say that. I always have to start and open up with saying it's a good day, and we're glad to be here. We're glad for God's grace, and we're glad to see you again another week. You know, we could have not saw this week, and so we say thank you to the Lord for bringing us this far. And so, Dr. Glenn, just like you said, we have a great topic on today, and we're talking about summer safety, also forgotten baby syndrome, and hot car. And I want to just echo what Dr. Glenn said, and I'm going to say this out of my own mouth. Never, never leave children or elderly people in a car. The weather is just too hot right now. We're having summer. Most of the United States is having summer weather where the temperatures are rising. Except, Dr. Glenn, I think in Africa, I saw that it was snowing last week.
Really? Yeah. I think I did see something that was snowing in Africa.
Yeah, some places it was snowing in Africa, but it's definitely not cool and snowing here. And so especially in our southern states, watch the heat index. And we're also going to just hopefully give you some information that you didn't know about it, and expose you to a few things so you could tell the difference between what heat exhaustion and heat stroke, because there's a big difference. And so hopefully some of the information we give you today will help you, and you'll be able to apply it in your own life and also help other people and caution them, but especially about the hot car.
That's right.
And the forgotten baby syndrome. You know,
exactly.
There's a lot of kids that die from this particular issue.
And you mentioned snowing in Africa. So I want to share this with everybody. See, we live in a climate where it gets hot, but it doesn't get hot like it did last year in Iraq. 150 degrees. People had, I'm assuming, aluminum trash cans on the curb. And of course, plastic trash cans didn't stand a chance. But it was so hot, the aluminum trash cans were melting right on the sidewalk.
Wow, 150 degrees. I can't even imagine.
I can't even breathe in that.
Yes.
That was last year in Iraq.
And sometimes I see people even here in the U.S. putting out things and frying an egg on the sidewalk, or putting out some grease outside and frying some chicken or something to try to show you how hot it could be outside. And so I can't imagine 150 degrees.
Yeah, or those mason jars where people have tea bags that are making their own remedy of tea. You ever seen that?
I have seen that. I have seen that in the past, or people putting it outside to let the heat brew the tea for them.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's so hot.
You know, if it gets that hot, you don't need to be outdoors. That's why we're having this discussion today. Sometimes the air quality is just too hot for you to bear. And I'll share this with you too, because I am a former firefighter from New Jersey. It doesn't matter that I'm with Fort Fires in New Jersey or wherever. I'm a former firefighter. And better yet, I am a firefighter. Once a firefighter, always a firefighter. Just like once a Marine, always a Marine. Well, always a firefighter. So I want to share this with everybody. When I was on the fire, we had always been instructed that your lungs would absolutely shut down at 200 degrees. And every time I would tell somebody that, they said, well, Glenn, that's because you're in the fire. I said, no, you're misunderstanding. They're not talking about a fire like a structure fire, a house fire, because in those situations, the temperatures inside of a house fire or structure fire is like 1,500, 2,500 degrees. So they're talking about outside temperature in general. And since that time, my last time on the fire department in New Jersey was in 92. So, but since that time, things have changed. And I'm not going to share all the information because I don't have the document to give you the resource, but it's a very reliable resource from a national agency. It says that depending on your location, your climate, your atmosphere, and your oxygen level, your lungs get shut down at 100 and some degrees, let alone 200. So imagine that. It could get 100 and some degrees here in North Carolina. So you have to keep these things in mind, because what's going to happen if your lungs are not operating?
That's right. Or, also if you have certain conditions in your body, like, sometimes the people that are asthmatics, they have a different set of conditions. And the heat could be different in your body depending on your weight. If you're a lot heavier, you get hot different than other people. Your body may hold heat more than other people. So you have to watch that too. Age.
I know this lady had a very bad asthma problem. And this was when I was in transportation driving limos. But I didn't have a limo that day, I was a sedan, and she was going to the event. I had to take her back home right away, because you know what she told me? She said, Mr. Johnson, take me back home right away. I have to go sit in my tub and some ice. She said, I'm going to fill the whole tub up with ice, turn the air conditioner on as low as I can turn it, because I have to get the cold air so I can breathe better. And that's exactly what she did, because her respiratory system could not withstand the high temperature.
Dr. Glenn, I don't know if we mentioned this word too when we said never leave. We said never leave a child, we never leave an older person, but also never leave a pet in the car.
Absolutely.
We don't want to forget them. Do not leave the pet in the car, because that temperature could rise so fast, and that your animal could die too.
That's right. And you might say to yourself, well, I'll just give them some ice cubes or something like that. We'll have a document and some audio that will explain why you cannot do that. If the dog is in extreme heat, do not give them ice chips, ice cubes, or anything. We'll get to that when we come back. Jackie.
Definitely. And so we're going to talk about some heat safety on today and start out with that, but we'll end definitely with the hot car. And we'll be doing this topic on more than 1 week. So we'll definitely get a chance to get you out a lot of information and also have a guest on one of our broadcasts that's going to come and talk to us about the hot car.
Yeah, she's very experienced in this matter. She's a staff member at ECU Health Medical Center, so she has a wealth of information to share with everybody. And if I'm not mistaken, that'll be on, is that August 9th, Jackie?
Yes, I think it's August the 9th. We'll have her.
That would be Miss Ellen Walston from ECU Health Medical Center, Injury Prevention Coordinator. So she'll have a wealth of information to share with everybody. Jackie, 1 minute.
Definitely. So we're going to give you some tips when we come back after our break, and we'll give you quite a few, so you'll be able to look at things this summer and being out in the heat, no matter where you are. And we also wanted to caution you and warn you that you don't have to be in a hot car to have heat exhaustion or heat stroke. And so we wanted to make sure that you know that that's not the only place you can die is inside of a hot car. You can have heat exhaustion just by being out in the weather. And so that's one of the things you need to caution and kind of listen to your body, especially when you go out and you see that your body begins to swell out in the heat and you're starting to feel very sick.
That's right.
You need to get in and get out of that hot weather.
Because just like a car can overheat, that radiator gets so hot. You know what happens when a radiator gets hot? You open that cap, all the liquid is going to bust out of the radiator.
Well, that's what's happening to your radiator in your body.
That's right.
You're cooking your insides, and stressing your vessels and heart and all kinds of stuff. When it's just too hot, it's just too hot. And sometimes you just have to accept that and receive that.
I got something to share with everybody when we come back from this first break. Keep it locked right here to Awesome Radio 106.9.
My name is Jayla. You're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
From the Pacific Justice Institute, this is The Legal Edge, defending your rights as a Christian, a parent, and a citizen. Here's Brad Dacus.
Pacific Justice Institute staff attorney Emily Mimnaugh had a big win recently when her opposition letter to Nevada State Bill 239 was heeded by the governor. The bill was vetoed. SB 239 would have implemented a statewide program for assisted suicide that provides few requirements or safeguards. Thanks to Mimnaugh, life-ending drugs cannot be requested, prescribed, obtained, and taken all on the same day. Please join PJI in a prayer of thanksgiving and for more harmful bills to not become law. PJI.org.
PJI provides legal representation without charge. Get exclusive email updates by registering for the Legal Insider at pji.org.
Hi, I'm Pastor Jeffrey Cox, pastor of God's Way Church of God in Christ in Kinston, North Carolina, and I'm listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. You are still tuned in to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, WBISLP. And Jeff, before we went to the break, Jackie had mentioned something about being out in the heat. And that rung a bell in my mind. Temperature. If his temperatures are high, it's best to stay indoors. And by all means, if you're outdoors, wear some light clothing. You don't want to wear anything dark or heavy that's going to attract the heat. You want to wear something light that's going to propel the heat. So what to my mind was, but if you have to check your temperature, don't do what I did when I was in elementary school. We had a test. And I'm not making light of this situation, but it gets humorous to me now. We had a test. One of the questions on the test was, your baby is sick. What do you take his temperature with? A thermostat or a thermometer? I circled thermostat. And that teacher came on me and said, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm not crazy. He said, well, why did you put thermostat? I said, well, it started out the same, but I meant to check thermometer because there's a difference between thermometer and thermostat. One you can control, and one just tells you what the atmospheric pressure is that's around you. But one that you can control. You can control it with the thermostat. You can't control the temperature with the thermometer. That's just a reading.
Yes, definitely, Dr. Glenn. And I'm glad you mentioned that as a good opener for us, because a lot of times we just think about taking temperature when we think a child has a fever or someone has a fever. But you also need to take it to see what their temperature is if you suspect heat exhaustion. Or we need to see what their temperature is inside, and we typically only want to do that when we think someone is sick with a fever. But temperature for heat exhaustion needs to be taken too. You could see how hot that person is, or where their temperature is, their internal temperature is versus what's going on outside. And so it's a good thing to take temperatures in there. So we're going to talk about a little bit about heat safety for you and your family. And one of the things that it says here is to slow down. When you know that it's hot, and most of us have access to the internet and different things where you could check the weather. And so I want to say, check the weather before you go out. Know how hot it's going to be before you even go out. What are they saying on the weather? What is the temperature for today? A lot of times we don't check it. And we get out and find out that it's extremely hot. Say, oh, wow, if I knew it was going to be this hot today, I wouldn't have done this, that, or that, or been out in that weather. Wait till the sun goes down too is another tip. You can wait until it gets cooler to do some things versus being in, the heat of the day.
That's right. And don't take it for granted that, because this is one of them things where people have encouraged other people to think about these things over the years, that the meteorologist doesn't really predict what the weather. Of course, they can't predict the weather. They have instruments that they use to help them give you the weather report. But one thing I wish they would do, my colleagues in the news media, the meteorologists, please explain to me the difference between partly cloudy and partly sunny.
And just like Dr. Glenn said, they're not always accurate. So you could check it right at the moment and see what the weather is. They can try to predict, but some of the apps, kind of tell you what they expect the temperature to be during the daytime. At 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever time you're going out, you'll be able to check the app and see what they expect. Now, sometimes they're just absolutely wrong. They say, it's going to be sunny all day and then it rains, because they're not necessarily in charge of it. God is in charge of the weather.
That's right. You can't control that.
That's right. And so, but you can look at it and see what they're, predicting to be for that day. They're not always accurate, as we said, but you can try to, move according to what they're telling us that it's going to be. If they tell us it's going to be hot, then expect to be hot.
And Lord Jesus, I just give it up to the people that fly into these hurricanes and tornadoes in them aircraft. They're called storm chasers. They'll fly right into a hurricane, right into the eye, so they can monitor and see all the parameters of the hurricane. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. They'll fly right into it. You can watch this stuff on YouTube. Jackie.
Definitely. I mean, it's very interesting, but it's not for me. I'm good with sitting on the ground and
me too.
And praying for it to pass over.
But I know they do it for everybody's safety, so they keep you abreast as to what's going on around you.
Definitely. And Dr. Glenn said this earlier, to dress for summer. I've seen ridiculously sometimes parents let the child pick their own clothes, and they have on winter boots and shorts. They've got on the boots up to their knees and then shorts. It doesn't match, or they got on a sweater with shorts. Make sure that you are dressed appropriately, but also your child is dressed appropriately for the weather. And so Dr. Glenn did say that wear the lighter, fabrics in the summertime, especially if you're going to be out and you have to be out. Wear some things that keep you cool. Sandals are good for summer, sometimes versus some socks and thick tennis shoes or thick sneakers. Some people, they can do okay with that, but other people, it makes you too hot. And some people, when their feet are hot, the rest of them are hot.
Yeah. And keep an eye on your elderly people, and particularly people with mental issues, because I had a family member. Now, we're from the Jersey Shore. Although we're from the shore, the ocean's right there, and it gets cold in the wintertime, but in the summer, it does get hot. So this particular uncle, it had to be about 95 degrees this day. And with my brothers and a couple of my cousins, and we're just walking down the street, and we running them. It's like 95 degrees. He had a wool suit on with a wool hat. So we had to get him indoors right away. We didn't want to take it lightly and joke about it, but we knew it was extremely dangerous for him because in his mind, he probably thought it was wintertime. It was 95 degrees. He had all wool on.
Yes, and I understand that if there's something, not right with their thinking process.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes elderly people are cold and they get cold and they stay cold.
And that's why I said that, yeah.
And some of them, they'll put on a few heavier things because even in a little bit of air conditioner, they are cold. I know a lot of them. You go in their house and they have the capability for the air conditioner or the central air and it's hot in there. They have it on 80 degrees and it's already, 100 degrees outside. So because that's their preference because they are cold. And so you still have to watch them with that because they can overheat.
That's right, yeah. Because they're frail, their medication might make them appear to be that or be that way. Because some medication will give you those kind of symptoms. The other thing I want to mention is too before I give it back to you, Jackie, is that if you're in a heat exhaustion situation, sometimes people might not be able to notice it because you might not be sweating. You don't have to sweat all the time to be suffering from heat exhaustion or severe heat exposure. For instance, you could be suffering from delirium. And in most cases like that, the person might not show any signs of sweating.
Definitely, but you're going to feel something and you're going to feel something in your body if you're going through that. You don't just boom, you're just there. There are some signs and symptoms that you'll feel, but they may not all be the same according to everybody. Everybody doesn't sweat profusely.
That's right. Everybody's different. I'm glad you mentioned that because everybody's different.
Yes. So one of the things it says here is eat light. Sometimes those big heavy meals, they can make you be hotter than it is. When you got that big steak, gravy, and mashed potatoes, and all of these heavy foods that we like to eat often in the wintertime that help us, I think, when it's cold, or we feel like it's better when it's cold. You sometimes have to kick off those things and not eat as much of that during the summertime.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it to remind everybody, because our people, here in the United States, we eat by sight, not by nutrition values or things like that. If it looks good and tastes good, we eat it. So we have to get out of that too, because Jackie mentioned the right thing. Be mindful of what you eat, what you digest. That could make you hot in and of itself, and that could lead to extreme problems.
And that's exactly what the issue is to choose foods that are easier to digest. So that's why you see, more encouragement to eat salads and light things during the summertime, and things that, and it also talked about, watching those things in the heat that could spoil easily in hot weather. So, watch those things and eat things that are easy to digest. Your body struggles more when it's struggling to digest heavier food.
Absolutely. Before we go to this break, I'm going to remind anybody that wants to call in 252-756-2008. Back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen.
You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM.
Do you need community volunteer hours? If so, then Awesome Radio is an excellent organization to volunteer with. We are seeking self-motivated individuals. You just might discover a new career in broadcast radio. Current openings for volunteer positions: engineer, voiceover, community events. Must have integrity. Must not smoke, drink, inhale, or take any such controlled substances while on the premises and while representing Awesome Radio in any capacity. Must have flexibility of days and times. Must have valid driver's license. Must have own transportation. For more detailed information, 252-756-3137. If you would like to join our family team here at Awesome Radio, the number to reach us, 252-756-3137. 252-756-3137. Yeah. Can you hear us? Can you feel us? Awesome Radio.
We're back. You're listening to The Glenn Johnson Show. You can reach Glenn at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That was a brief break. So we're winding down to our final 30 minutes of today's broadcast. So once again, anyone that desire to share information with a comment or question, please don't hesitate to call in. You will be live at 252-756-2008. Jackie.
Definitely. You can call in right now while we're live and speak to Dr. Glenn or address Dr. Glenn or myself. And again, that number is 252-756-2008. 2008.
That's right. That's right.
You could call in right now and you can talk to us or, add a comment on. One of the things that it said here is to drink plenty of water. And it said not very cold because, a lot of times we like ice water. Some people, they won't drink or have anything to drink unless it has a ton of ice in it. And so it says not ice water, but to drink plenty of water, even if you don't feel thirsty.
Does it give a specific reason why not ice water? Because I'm thinking that if you suggest a large amount of ice water real quickly and your body's already hot, that might put you in shock.
Definitely. I think that is exactly why it is. And it does speak of that when it talks about the heat stroke and heat exhaustion. It said, don't give them ice water. And even for the dogs, if you think that the dog is too hot, maybe not to give them ice water, but to give them water, give them cool water. And it also said, because I think a lot of times we know what it is that we'll do if we see a child in a hot car, or if someone has heat exhaustion, is to call 911 is the first thing. But what to do after that? What are you going to do to help that person when you don't know what to do? What are you going to do? What are the steps to do if you think that person is in heat stroke? What should you do? So Dr. Glenn, we want to at least hit a few of those facts today and talk about it, what you should do after that. Of course, if you think that person is in trouble, or you see a baby or a child in the car, you can assist by calling 911 immediately.
And Jackie, before you go to that, I'm going to play this first audio clip that shares some enlighten everybody with some information concerning what to do in North Carolina, and then you can go into the facts.
All right, we'll be right back after this clip.
Heat wave, North Carolina is continuing to raise awareness about dangers posed by hot cars. It comes after a 1-year-old girl died after being left in a car in Mebane earlier this month. WRAL's Keenan Willard is in Pullen Park in Raleigh, where families just got a firsthand look at how serious this issue is. Keenan.
We can see how many people are out here braving the heat throughout the day here at Pullen Park. A lot of families out here. 90-degree temperatures expected, but try to imagine a place where it is twice as hot as it is outside right now. That's the reality the state says every time you close your car door after just a few minutes during the summer. They held an event right here in the park to show people the very real threat that poses. It was the State Department of Insurance that brought a car out onto the lawn here in Pullen Park. They put a tray of s'mores on the dashboard to show just how hot it gets inside, and the temperature reading that they had showed over 150 degrees inside of that car very quickly. The families were able to watch this demonstration and hear from department leaders about the very real threat that these hot cars pose. Insurance Commissioner Mike Causey says 10 children across the country have already died this year after being left in hot cars. That includes a 1-year-old girl in Orange County back on July 1st. Causey says when it comes to our children, one death is too many, and the public needs to hear this message.
It's very sad when you have a tragedy that's so preventable. I mean, it's totally unnecessary. And we're trying to reach out to the public and educate people on the dangers of hot cars.
You want to see how this is impacting people across our area right now? We're getting some breaking information from the city of Raleigh. It's so hot outside that we're starting to see some electrical failures in this area. The power's out in Pullen Park. The carousel and other rides are down right now. We're looking into how widespread this issue is and if families might be left without any air conditioning during this heat wave. Back to you.
Keenan Willard live at Pullen Park on the dangers of the heat and its impacts. Thanks.
Okay, I've got one more before I give it back over to Jackie.
All righty.
Glad one didn't mention this thing about is it illegal to break somebody's window to get a child out of a hot car.
Yes.
So I definitely want to play it before I give it to you.
Do you know it is hot enough to cook s'mores on the hood of a car right now? Did you know that? That was the North Carolina Insurance Commissioner. That's what they demonstrated today to show just how hot the inside of a car can get in this summer heat. Families were able to watch this demonstration and hear from department leaders about the very real threat hot cars pose.
It's very sad when you have a tragedy that's so preventable. I mean, it's totally unnecessary. And we're trying to reach out to the public and educate people on the dangers of hot cars.
And in North Carolina, did you know that you could be charged if you break someone's window if you see a child or animal in a hot car? Law enforcement say calling 911 should be the first thing you do, and then keep an eye on the car.
Temperatures are starting to creep up, and when we're doing almost anything to keep ourselves cool, our dogs are.
Okay, I apologize about that. I wanted to stop that. I want to point out one thing though. Both those audio clips that you heard obviously were broadcast at a previous date and time. So keep that in mind. But it all remains the same. The facts are still clear as to what they gave that commentary on. So that's what I want to point out to you. It might be an older clip, but the information is still the same and relevant. So just keep those things in mind. We'll get some more audio updated clips later in the broadcast. I want to get back to my co-host, Jackie Williams, that has some relative information. Jackie.
Definitely. And so we know that it said on the audio clip that if you break someone's window because you see a child or animal or elderly person left in the car, you can be charged with that. That is what they're saying to you, is that they want you to call 911 first. Doesn't mean that you are in danger necessarily of, being prosecuted because you helped someone, but it's about calling 911 first. If that person is automatically in immediate danger, there is a Good Samaritan law that does cover such things. And in certain states, the laws vary from state to state.
Absolutely.
So you'll have to look up your state's laws. But I think the main focus is that they're trying to get you is to call 911. Now you see that baby passed out or whatever, your conscience and your heart, is going to have to kick in, and you're going to have to see, weigh whether you want to help or not. You know what I mean? As far as that go. But I don't see anybody not helping, especially if it's hot and you see that baby look like they're passed out, or that elderly person and they're in a car with the windows up. I don't see Good Samaritan law, wherever. I think the heart would kick in and you be breaking that window trying to get that child out.
That's right. Because people are human, and people are going to action when they see something that needs to be corrected. But we can't stress this enough. At all means, you are to dial 911 in any emergency situation first.
Definitely.
House fire, hot car situation, motor vehicle accident, whatever the emergency is, you need to dial 911 because you want to prevent them having to come and rescue you because you failed to dial 911 and now you're in a volatile situation. So these are some of the reasons why you call 911 first. So they won't have to come rescue you when they get there for the reason they're supposed to be there for anyway.
Definitely. Definitely. Because I can see that being an issue. Any emergency situation can cause you to be stressed. So you definitely have to watch that. And so, but especially, you can gauge things that if it's far outside of town, you know what I mean? And you've come upon a child in a car like that, it's going to take them a while to get there. So, you have to kind of look from situation to situation and judge that. But 911 is to be activated no matter what.
Yeah, before you go to that, just because last year when I got off duty with the sheriff's office, I'm a volunteer with the sheriff's office, Citizens on Patrol. So when I got off duty, I'm on my way home. As soon as I got off the bypass, I'm on 4 Lines Road in Winterville. And as I'm traveling down the street, I noticed a car on the left-hand side sitting on the shoulder with 3 young people outside of the car. And it was extremely hot that day. So I'm like, well, I see that. I didn't approach them. Well, yes, I did approach them. I only approached them to tell them to stay away from the curb and stay far away from the curb and the vehicle as possible and get up under a shaded tree. And then I called the sheriff's office and they sent the deputy over. Jackie.
Definitely. And so use common sense. It's hot out there. Find some shade if you can and wait in the shade for your rescue or wait for help. It also said here to use air conditioners and portable electric fans. Use those in your house. Keep things cool, and to keep yourself cool. Minimize direct exposure to the sun.
That's right, Jackie. I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, Awesome Radio 106.9 FM.
Keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show.
I broke off my knob at 106.9 FM to Awesome Radio, and I'm glad about it.
All right, and we're back. I'm going to give it right over to Miss Jacqueline Cullins Williams. This is our final 20 minutes of today's broadcast. Jackie?
Yes, Dr. Glenn, one of the things that I hear, and I just have to address this particular issue, is that sometimes people don't want, I don't want my electric bill to be high. Well, fainting and as somebody, going through heat stroke and exhaustion, because it's so hot outside, they're going to charge you a certain amount of money no matter what. You're going to have a minimum on a bill. And I remember that from the time I was young, that they, we don't want to use that many fans, or we don't want to use that much of this, trying to keep down the electricity bill. I'm going to say this, stop being stingy.
Yeah.
You spend it on whatever you want to, no matter what, or whatever you enjoy, but then you don't want to pay an electricity bill to keep the house cool, and to keep the kids and the people in the house from fainting.
Stop being stingy, or just move somewhere, relocate where it's strictly solar.
That's right. And do some things, you're going to pay a certain amount. When the summertime and certain times of seasons, sometimes the bill is going to go up no matter what you do. So you're just sitting in there hot for no reason.
It's definitely going to go up in the wintertime when you turn that heat on.
That's right. So go ahead and do it and stop and enjoy life. You only get one life, and you don't want to spend it hot every summer, especially when you have air conditioner and you're just sitting up there, won't turn it on because you're talking about bills being high.
I remember one time I had to go perform at this club in Philadelphia, and the owner's wife, she like heat too. So we're upstairs in a ballroom. I said, excuse me, but what is the heat on hell? It had to be about 300 degrees in that room. I'm like, it's too high. She said, no, it's comfortable. I'm like, ma'am, it's dangerous for everybody. It's extremely hot. You have to turn the heat down. And she finally did turn it down.
Oh, yeah. So it's not even always about personal preference, too. It's about, doing things that are logical, not just you or how cold you are.
Right.
Everybody else has to be comfortable, too.
That's right. See, because she wasn't being logical, like you said. She was just worried about herself. But I had her turn that thing down. I'm telling you, it had to be at least 300 degrees in that room.
That's right. And those of you that have people that come and work for you, we see a lot of that. I see a lot of that down here in the South. Turn that air conditioner on for those people. Now, you might sit in there hot and fainting, but somebody else is coming to your house to work or to do something. Don't burn those people up and cause them to be so uncomfortable, tired, and worn out because you won't turn the air on.
That's right. And if we don't get to this topic today, as Mr. Cullins pointed out previously, we'll have a couple of more shows about hot car, summer safety tips, and things of that nature. And as Jackie mentioned about work, we'll have a document on prevent heat illnesses or heat illness at work. Outdoor and indoor heat exposure can be very, very dangerous.
Now, Dr. Glenn, this week, one of the things it says here is don't take salt tablets. Also, I saw something last week that was sent to me by one of my relatives, and it said, Dr. Glenn, about how to get hydrated. And this particular clip was shown on social media, and it said that a lot of people are drinking a lot of water, but they're not getting hydrated, or their cells are not absorbing it. And they asked us to put some salt in the water. So I did this, and my whole body was swollen. So let me tell you, my hands were so swollen. I was like, what happened to me overnight? You have to be careful with those type of things, especially if you're on certain medications. Certain medications pull the water off your body, and now you're putting on something to retain the water in your body. So depending on what kind of medications and things you're on, you have to watch just taking those advice, especially when you're adding salt to your water.
And this is one of the reasons why you're supposed to consult your physician before you change anything that you normally do. Consult with your physician first, because he might recommend otherwise.
Definitely.
Just, so you won't harm yourself.
Definitely. And it wasn't a lot of salt, Dr. Glenn, but I woke up, my hand and face, everything was swollen. Whole body was so stiff and achy because my ankles were swollen and everything. And it was putting that salt in that water.
You know how they say in the music industry, I'm going to blow up. You really did blow up. Huh?
I did. And so you do need to consult your physician about how to do stuff and stop taking things that you see on social media.
Because I was going to blow up like you did. Huh?
That's right. And I was achy. It wasn't just the swelling. I mean, my ankles were hurting while I was sleeping. I'm like, what's wrong with my body?
That
I
wasn't
looked, that wasn't a good result.
that wasn't funny, but it was funny.
Yeah, it wasn't a good result.
Yeah.
So also, so that don't do the salt unless you talk to your doctor about it, or how to apply these things, or how much. Maybe I put too much. I don't know what the problem was, but it didn't come out right for me. So also we want to talk about heat exhaustion and stroke. In one of them, you will sweat. Heat exhaustion, you may have excessive sweating, and heat stroke, you'll have no sweating.
Yeah, see, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have a lot of sweating with one, but if you see them not sweating, and especially with the heat exhaustion is the one where we see the hot cars, or kids or animals or elderly left in a hot car, and you see them passed out, they are in heat stroke and not heat exhaustion.
It's not heat exhaustion. That's
Yes.
right.
So one of the things is nausea and vomiting. You start getting nausea and vomiting, both of them, heat exhaustion and stroke. You could start feeling some stomach
Yeah.
issues.
And that skin could be really sticky and clammy.
Sticky and clammy, definitely can be. You can get faint or dizzy with heat exhaustion, but throbbing headache and confusion with heat stroke. So watch that headache. If you're getting so hot and you feel yourself getting hot, thirsty, and that type of thing, and a headache is coming with it, you could be in danger of heat stroke. And so also rapid and weak pulse with heat exhaustion, and rapid and strong pulse with heat stroke. So, both of them are dangerous, and you need to watch.
That's right. Both of them are extremely dangerous.
One of them, muscle cramps. You're having some cramps and some pain in your muscles while you're hot. And another one, with the heat stroke, you may lose consciousness. You may be conscious with both, but with the heat stroke, definitely when you get to a certain temperature, you can go unconscious. But that confusion, if you're out hot and you're having confusion and different things, you need to watch that. And also, one of the things that it says here is that once you call 911, spray the person or the child with some water. Now, not ice water, but cool water. Spray their armpits, spray their body to try to help them cool down, because that's what the issue is that the body is not able to cool itself down. The body is not able to cool itself quickly enough. And so you can help them to get cooled off by spraying some water, and especially even if they're unconscious, getting some water on them under their armpits and under their neck, and just kind of cooling them down a little bit. A fan, getting them in front of a fan.
Yeah, and I see one of the things here that's shown on the chart. Signs of exertional heat stroke. Core body temperature of more than 105 degrees. Signs of nervous system dysfunction, such as confusion, exertion, and loss of consciousness. That's real serious, right, Jackie?
Definitely. And that's what I talked about earlier about being able to take somebody's temperature, because you still need to take it if you think that they are under heat stroke or heat exhaustion. It's not just for people that have a fever. It's to see where their temperature is, their core temperature. You could tell the 911 people, well, they had their temperature is 103, or it's over a certain degrees, and then they can kind of gauge that person is in heat stroke.
And I mentioned earlier, make sure you don't use a thermostat, but a thermometer. But they have new devices now you can pick up from your local pharmacy, and it's digital. All you got to do is hold it up against the person, forehead or whatever, and it will tell you their temperature. I think that's a good tool to have, particularly if you know you're going to be around people that might run into a situation where they might need their temperature check until rescue could arrive. But like I said, whatever you do, still think about you be covered under the Good Samaritan Act. So don't be afraid to render any aid to anybody. Just call 911 first before you do so. And if you do so and feel leery about doing it, as Jackie mentioned before, you more than likely will be covered under the Good Samaritan law. So we don't want to leave anybody in distress or in a volatile situation. If you can help. But the number one thing to remember is to call 911 first. Jackie.
Definitely. And also want to bring to mind that even when you're reading the temperature or you're looking at what the temperature should be, the heat index is different. The heat index says what it feels like.
Exactly. That excuse me, we'll pick it back up. I'll come back. 106.9 FM.
1 in 3 adults in America have prediabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Here's 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Awesome Radio. This is 106.9 FM, WBISLP. We have reached our final 10 minutes of today's broadcast, so without delay, I'm going to go right over to my co-host, Ms. Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Definitely. And when we talked about, we need to mention this and put a little clip in here, just a little side note, when we talked about staying hydrated. Also, with staying hydrated, exclude liquids that contain alcohol or caffeine. And it says to exclude those liquids because they help to pull water out of your body. They help you to go to the bathroom more.
That's right.
And so that's why they say, when you hydrate, don't drink those.
That's right.
Especially when it's hot outside, because you might not understand that you're dehydrating yourself with those particular liquids or things that have a lot of caffeine in it.
Yeah, you're trying to put water in your body or fluid in your body, not relinquish fluid from your body.
Clear juices, do juices, but clear juices. Now, I don't know what juice is clear. Come to think of it, Dr. Glenn, might be white grape juice or white apple juice and those type of things.
That's probably what they're referring to.
Yeah, clear juices. So dehydration, there's another one here called heat synopsis.
Yeah.
And it's talking about fainting in hot weather, just not heat stroke or not heat exhaustion, but there's people that just faint when they get hot. Sometimes I feel like I'm gonna faint, Dr. Glenn. I've been outside hot and thought, Lou, and I've said it out of my mouth. Oh, I just feel like I could faint. And so if that's the case, then get in dizziness or fainting. I've seen it feel that hot. Lie down and put your feet up. Drink plenty of water and other cool fluids. So,
and you know what? Since you said that, realistically, if you feel that way, you could become that way.
Yes.
If you feel like you're going to faint, you more than likely would faint.
Definitely. And so, if you feel like that, and I mean, I'm telling you, sometimes I felt that way, like it was so hot, like I couldn't get any fresh air, like the air was so hot. And so get inside, get in the air conditioner, get out of those conditions and go somewhere where it's cool.
That's right, because like you said, you felt like you were going to faint. Then you went home and thought you took a nap. Maybe you didn't take a nap. Maybe you fainted.
And sometimes the heat can make you feel like you want to pass out.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why you got to be careful with being outside and being out in the weather. Look after yourself and let your body listen to the signals that your body is giving you. If your body's telling you to get out of that heat, go get out of that heat. And even getting in the car, some of us have vehicles, or some have vehicles that you could start the car before you get in there. Start it and get that heat out of there. Sometimes it feels, Dr. Glenn, when you open that car door and that heat, it feels like a volcano is in there.
Yeah.
Like the hot breath of that car.
But one thing you don't want to do is get in the car on a hot day, close the door, start the car up, and turn on the air conditioning. You do not do that. What's going to happen is the temperatures inside the car along with the what do you call it? I'm thinking of the wrong word. Well, the temperature that's in the car and the pressure that's in the car, as soon as you turn that AC on, it's going to implode your windows. So your windows are not going to blow out. They're going to blow in on you. That's an implosion versus explosion. So if the car is already hot, you get in the car after coming out of a mall or whatever, you start the car up, you immediately turn on the air because it's so hot inside the car. You're going to cause the windows to implode. All 4 windows are going to implode on you because of the temperature and the pressure, air pressure that's inside the vehicle.
Wow, I never knew that, Dr. Glenn. We're all in danger of that because that's what we do. We get in that car and turn the air conditioner right on.
You all do, except for me, because I know better. What you do is you get in the vehicle. If you start the car up, you don't even have to start it. Just turn the accelerations on, then roll down all the windows. Now you turn on the AC because now the AC is kicking out and it's blowing the hot air out of the car because all the windows are open. As soon as enough hot air is out of the vehicle, now you can roll up your windows.
Okay, well, thank you for definitely telling us that because I definitely always get in there and turn the air on.
No, you don't ever do that. And you're going to find out, once you do that, you're going to find out the car gets cooler a lot quicker. And you still have all 4 of your windows.
Definitely. Well, whenever I turn it on, it seems like it's blowing straight hot air at first.
That's why.
Like the heater is on.
That's why, because it's already hot inside the car.
Yes.
Now you're going to cause an implosion.
Definitely. Oh, wow. So that's a great tip to teach us, Dr. Glenn.
That's
I'm
right.
going to be mindful to let the windows down, to let the pressure out too.
I'll
definitely be mindful of that.
You don't know how many times I have shared that with people here in North Carolina that had no clue about that until I told them.
Well, it's definitely my first time hearing it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do, educate people, educate each other, give out good information. If you have any doubt about that, check with anybody, and they will tell you the same.
Definitely. And so we want to just mention too at the end of our broadcast, or we're coming towards the end of it here. We have a few more minutes here.
You have 4 minutes.
Talking about keeping kids out of hot cars. And we just want to say to you again, never leave the child in the cars. Even if you think that you're going to just go in very quickly and come out and not, well, I'm just going to be in for a second. And I could see them the whole time. The child's body heats up 4 times faster than adult's body does. And especially when you're left inside of a hot car. And even if you see them sleeping, because that's where the problem comes in. A lot of times the parents don't want to get the child out because they're asleep. Get them out, wake them up. It's okay. They'll go back to sleep or they can finish their nap later. But it's better to get them out than to leave them in a car where they could be in danger very quickly. Only takes a few minutes for those temperatures to rise.
That's right.
And it could be double inside of the car than out.
You don't want to leave your child in the car, not even a senior adult, not even for 1 second. 1 second is too long.
Definitely. And I know, Dr. Glenn, I was a mother of 4, and I know how difficult it could be getting all of them out at one time. But it's more safe to get them out than to put them in danger and leave them in.
Hey, do you recall last year around this time when the Pitt County Safe Community Coalition had the hot car event at Cole's parking lot? The same day of the event, Greenwood Fire Rescue got a call that a young boy was locked inside of a car, but he was able to free himself from the vehicle. The same day that they were responding to attend the event, they had to divert themselves to go take care of that rescue situation. But when they got there, the young child had common sense enough to extract himself from the vehicle.
And that is awesome, Dr. Glenn. But oftentimes when they're infants or they're smaller, they're strapped in a car seat and they cannot get themselves out. But some of these little rascals are very, very smart. And they'll unlock the door. They know how to start the car and do everything. You're not going to kill them in the car because they're going to get out.
like my 6-year-old granddaughter came to me the other day with a drawing that she did. Hey, Pop, look. I said, what is that? She said, it's a caterpillar. It's going to metamorph into a butterfly. She's 6 years old. I'm like, who told you something about metamorphing? At 6. She looked at me yesterday talking about, Pop, you want to go running? I'm like, you don't run nowhere. I'll run to the bathroom or run to get in the bed. I'm not running nowhere. She said, Pop, maybe you should try.
They're very smart and very intelligent, but this is more for the ones
Yeah.
that can't get up or can't unlock themselves or can't unbuckle their car seats.
And we're not
to
making
get-
light of anything today. As you know, they didn't get to any kind of humorous things today. But anyway, help somebody, help yourself before you help anybody. And as always, if you see somebody in distress, call 911 first before and foremost before you do anything. We have 1 minute remaining, Jackie.
Definitely. And we're going to talk next week also about the forgotten baby syndrome, because a lot of times that children, especially when they're young infants, have been left in the car, it's because they've been forgotten. Our new vehicles and things have reminders that come up, and it flashes on the vehicle to tell you to check the back seat and to look for the child and make sure that you haven't left the child in the car.
Yeah, they have that still in the production in some places. I think there's still being manufacturers that's been doing that in the United States, right?
Yes, definitely. The newer model cars on your display is flashing and beeping and telling you to check your back seat to make sure that you haven't left a child in the car. So that's a great safety mechanism that we're seeing in the newer model cars that weren't in the older cars. So pay close attention to that and check your back seat always. And so we're going to
connecting hearts, uniting generations. That's what grandparents are all about. Here's Dr. Ken Canfield for Grandkids Matter.
My friend Dr. Judd Swihart has done extensive research on grandparents, and after numerous interviews, he concluded that grandparents tend to significantly